Back in the 19th century, under the classical gold standard, the discipline was imposed by the amount of gold that was available to turn into currency. Thereby, you remove the political fiddling, assuming the politicians followed the rules, which they didn't in the 20th century. But isn't that the key, to get money away from the political process? And isn't that part of the thinking in the Austrian school?
Yeah, the Austrians would definitely agree to that, and I think that this would be a major step. But one must also not forget, in the 19th century, under the classical gold standard, there were many commercial banks which did fractional reserve banking, and it was quite interesting. There was a short note in the records of the Austrian National Bank in the 1860s, and they said, yeah, the commercial banks are demanding so much money, we have no time printing it. And the reason was because of fractional reserve banking, the commercial banks suffered from a bank run. So I would say that every part of the society has to make certain changes. So the society as a whole has to redefine its approach to money or to material wealth as such, because only then reform will last for a long time. Again, after the next elections, you could again have politicians in the parliament who would change the reform of 2 years ago. So I think that in a society which acknowledges legal rights, which does not permanently strive for more and more in an unrestricted sense, there you will also have a healthy money. And I think it's the task of the politicians to institute or to help institutionalizing this reform. I don't think that the current political elite is willing to do this. But in 10, 15 years, things could be differently.
Yeah, hopefully 10 or 15 months, not 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
I think you're probably more right than what I would be hoping for. I agree with you. Rule of law, respect for private property, that's the building block of any free society. And then I would take it to the next level, where I think money outside of the political control is also a building block for a free society. And there's been a lot of literature on the historical link between human liberty and gold, and I think that's probably also within the thinking of the Austrian school, at least my reading of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one argument one must bear in mind is again that the purchasing power is so high that if you have a gold or solely a gold standard without supplementing it by silver or by copper coins, then you necessarily have a more or less the same system as nowadays. The only difference is that you can that your banknote can be changed into physical gold, which I think would be a very important improvement. But then also I would favor that you can exchange it in very small denominations, because if you, for example, can just 1 kilogram of gold, then hardly anybody has enough purchasing power to change their banknotes into physical gold.
Yeah, that's why in gold money, you can go down to a mil, a thousandth of a gram, and I do see gold as an important building block of a free society. Just a couple last questions. Will the euro survive?
That's in the end a political decision.
Isn't it more what the people put up with?
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, for me that's not a strict antagonism, but it's obvious that the euro should also from the political elite side should survive because of political reasons. I don't think so that the euro will survive, but the elite will try to keep it at every cost.
But the Austrian school would say the more government interference you have in the free market process, the less goods and services are going to be produced, because you have less interaction in society. Whenever you impose impediments and the market is not allowed, or people are not allowed to operate freely, or they have too many impediments and burden imposed on them, that ultimately hurts economic growth and economic activity.
That's absolutely true, but there's a dogma which is used all the time now, that without the euro, that the European Union is dead, and then of course as a consequence of it, people many of the elite believe that then there will be war again in Europe. And I think under this, this is the mindset of the people. And I would argue if you're in favor of a free and peaceful Europe, then you have nowadays to be again against the euro, because as Martin Feldstein, I think it was, already wrote in the 1990s, that the euro in the end will lead to war. So actually arguing the other way around. But this is
lead to increasing nationalism,
yeah, exactly,
which will then ultimately lead to war. Yeah.
It's also a political decision again, because then the European project, as it has evolved in the last, let's say, 30 years, is dead. And this is something which many people don't want. And I think we lack ideas what could be the Europe after the European Union.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I'm sure people don't want war, but I don't think they want bureaucrats in Brussels telling them how to live their lives, or a central bank buying government paper and debasing the currency. So, I mean, there are obviously some tough decisions that are going to have to be made in the future.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you, Gregor. I've been speaking with Gregor Hochreiter, Krankes Geld, Kranke Welt.
Excellent.
Improving my pronunciation a little bit. And look forward to seeing this translated someday into English. Gregor, Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.